I think it's safe. To assume we all are beginning to understand what the clique is, or what they are. In any case, I'm sorry. Sorry, I wasn't here during the dining hall attack. But it sounds like your counselors and you and your CITs kind of comported and conducted yourself in the way that you should have. You retreated to a defensible spot and waited it out. For whatever reason, they didn't come inside. I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's because you were holding the doors or if it was something different. But I'm glad everybody made it. Now I wasn't here because I was doing a little bit more investigating, and I'll get to that part as we sort of get through our story for Quest. Who wants to go first? You want to go first for the first half? Okay.
All right. So what we did, we started off and we went to the nursery because we've been told by the listener that we always
so annoying.
have to go to the nursery.
I want to punch the listener in the face.
And then so
he might hear you say that.
While we were walking there were these angels, and they had blood coming out of their eyes, and they were like holding a little pot thing. There was blood in the pot thing. It's like a bowl. I don't know. So we went to the nursery, and then the baby started talking to Topher, and he was like, "Are you my mother?" And Topher was like, "No." And then he was like,
Can you imagine my shock at finding out that I wasn't its mother?
And then the baby was like, "The bad Smith person is making me sick." And then it started saying, "Help us," or it said, "Leave us alone." And it started saying, "Help us," and we left.
Yeah, it was coughing, and it sounded ill. It said that the magic was very strong, and that Agent Smith had been responsible for making the dolls sick, which is kind of a feat since they're many of them are just burnt plastic. But their animus, because they're from the underworld, Smith has some sort of, and he's the son of Pluto. He has some sort of connection, even now. And this morning we heard him talk about how he was loath to do it, but he used one of the Egyptian scrolls that he confiscated from Tethamon when he was here last week, which is the Egyptian fire mage that Sadie was here to help us hunt down. He's still on the loose. Unfortunately, Sadie wasn't able to get him. However, Sadie was able to portal about 300 of the mummies to a place that she could only describe as his personal hideaway. I would have loved to have been there for the knock on that door. Have them open up the curtains or whatever, and there's 300 mummies. They were all on fire, so that was kind of cool. But Agent Smith got on our cases like a lot last week because he thought that we were aiding and abetting this Egyptian mage, and we're like, man, we don't want to have anything to do with it. And we found a mummy last week that ended up, of course, being a trap. The mummy was an incendiary device. It was set to go off with some sort of magical cue. We're not sure how or when it was going to go off, but we were able to track down these gems, tiny, tiny little kind of orange and red gems, and place them in the mouth of the mummy, as she said is customary for that kind of stuff, to put what she called the Ba and the Ka, the two parts of the spirit, to rest. And so Agent Smith was livid about that. We're Greeks and Romans practicing Egyptian magic. And I didn't want to remind him that the whole Ptolemaic era in Egypt was because Greece was there. The last of the Ptolemaic rulers in Egypt was Cleopatra IV. And that's when that's when you guys came in, and the new era of Egyptian magic started. So it's not like Greece and Rome are complete strangers to that part of the world or that kind of magic. It's just that it's been a long time, I think, since there's been any cooperation there or since we could see each other. Something's happening now. I don't know if it's a convergence. I don't know what's going on. We've heard the Foundation talk about how they found a hammer last year. There's been no other mention of that. We've heard them talk about the Egyptians. My feeling is the Foundation has its dirty little fingers involved in more than just Greek and Roman stuff, more than just Egyptian stuff. They're in the know about a lot more. There's not just Greek and Roman magic, there's not just Egyptian magic, there are others out there. And from what the listener has told us and what we've had Ganymede Radio kind of listen in on so far, every day we're learning more about what the Foundation knows. So what we do know is that they don't want us intermingling our powers with those of Egypt. Smith thinks that too much power concentrated in one group is dangerous. And I think for the first time, I have to say that I agree with him. You know, I am not like Smith, but too much power is a dangerous thing. And while Sadie was wonderful, she's a very charming young woman. And I love that British accent, but very, very charming young lady. I think she agreed too that Greece, Rome, and Egypt should probably have as much distance from one another as we can, just for everybody's health and sanity. Now, this scroll that Smith used to create the click, he's sort of tortured these shades and trapped their animus now, well, in the bodies of his dolls. But he's also working on a project, much like Cates's project. Somebody gave me a translation from the book that said that Agent Smith and the Foundation know what Cates was up to, and they're seeking to do the same. It makes sense in light of the fact that Agent Smith has been coming in and extracting things like, you know, General Crone's bravery, Kayla's intellect from Athena Cabin, and Lucas, who's not here this week, but they took his, what'd they take?
Self-control.
His sort of, yeah, his self-control. He was a demigod. Lucas was a demigod without remorse. Last week. My feeling is that Smith is taking those things and using them to create whatever he's creating. And we've got to stop him now. He's not here. He's been called back to the Home Office, but before he left, he uses the one thing that he got on our cases for using, Egyptian magic, to then take the bodies of the demigods who were failed experiments for the Foundation and put the animus of these crazy dolls in them, and what we have is a fast-moving, for all intents and purposes, Egyptian mummy. Like, fast-moving doesn't even come close. I might characterize them as hyperactive. They're loud, they're quick, and they're scary. And they echolocate. They make a weird clicking noise. And then they stop and they listen for it. I was able to photograph several of them in the forest after I left the press group during the time that your dining hall kind of attack went down. And I've captured some of those images and put them on a slideshow so that you can see them. So it's on the television inside. So after we're done here, kind of talking about what we're talking about, before you leave and check out with your counselors and clean up and take home your stuff, you can go in and see the slideshow. It starts with a shot of the Minerva head. The camera I use has been altered by Annabeth Chase, and it does a pretty wonderful job of taking photos through the mist. And you'll see things as they really look and appear oftentimes. So enjoy that slideshow. Okay, so we get down to the creepy doll place. All that stuff happens. She hates Agent Smith. She's like, he's hurting us. You have to help us. If you help us, we'll help you. And I'm like, deal. That's awesome. And then she said, pretty much, get out. And so we got out and came back here. Who wants to take over from there?
I'll take over.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay, then
Okay.
after that we well, Joe Crone got a text from Topher saying to get over to the visitor center.
Yeah.
He's like, why I didn't hear that part.
Well, again, the listener said there was a lot of activity going on down at the visitor center. So a lot of communications going back and forth, radio communications going back and forth between the agents of the foundation. So
Yeah, we
get over there quickly.
Yeah, we hightail at the visitor center where we meet up with Topher. Then he gets a call from the listener. Not happy. Still doesn't like it.
He asks for that damn password every time, even when he calls me. I really want to.
Omega Charlie.
Yeah, by the way, it's Omega Charlie, okay? So, on him, it's Omega Charlie is the password. So if you ever have to call the listener, don't even let him say anything, just say Omega Charlie. He's probably going to change it now, you know, whatever. Okay, so go ahead.
Yeah. Then we cross these two wooden bridges, then we come to this overhang.
But what did we started hearing,
click it.
we started hearing the
It
weird
almost
kind
sound
of,
like a croaking frog almost.
Or a pig.
somebody told me that you could hear those noises here at the dining hall.
You could.
Okay.
You could hear the screaming.
You could hear the screaming like
Barely.
5 minutes. 5 minutes before they got here, you could hear like faraway shrieks and screams.
It's sort of like a,
The
what I heard was sort of like a wet kind of gurgling click.
Yeah, almost like a frog.
But when they were attacking the front door behind us, like one of them shrieked as it ran into it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We noticed Ringo, who has back to us. So it looks like a broken sword, and then one of the Foundation's basically shock staffs.
And he was breathing pretty heavily, and looked like he was in shock.
And there was like weird symbols around his feet.
And you have like marks on him.
And he had hash marks on his skin.
And he doesn't even do anything. And at one point, he glances back over his shoulder, and then just turns his head back forward. He didn't react at all until General Crone tapped him on the shoulder with the butt of the spear he was holding. At that point, he turns around fully and
Goes into a rant, yeah.
Crone noticed something on his arm and asked, like, what the heck happened? And he just kept on saying, I don't know. Eventually, he snapped. He grabbed the staff.
He said, you can deal with it now.
It's your problem. And then he
You
just
deal with it.
took off around the corner.
There's something out there. There's something out there. It's your problem then.
Yeah, he took off around the corner, then all of a sudden we hear this shriek, like
Yeah.
a woman is getting murdered.
Like a shriek, and there was like a little, like a small, like growl, and then we started running back, and then this thing bulked after us.
Now, I have photos of that as it was coming over the ledge. So we were beneath the overhang where the old labyrinth tunnel used to be. It's all fallen out and exposed now. But we're underneath this sort of kind of semicircle of rock, and above us, this thing is moving kind of through the brush.
Not very fast at this point.
Yeah, quickly. And so I was able to kind of get up and take some shots of it while we were running away, and I tried to get some close-ups. So yeah.
And then as we were running away, he ran into a tree. And then once we got back to the visitor center, we all ducked down behind this little wall. And like
Basically, it was at the bottom of the hill. The top of the wall was the top of the hill.
and then we were hiding there, and then we heard this shriek, and then this random mortal guy comes over, and he's like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?"
Because we're all hunched down hiding at this point. And we're like, really? Really? What are we doing? You know,
Hiding.
Yeah.
Thought we were LARPing.
And then he was like, what you guys do? Are you LARPing? And Crone was like, it's a summer camp. He was like, oh, cool. And Crone was like, well, if you're here, then it's probably safe. And right as he said that,
The thing shrieked again.
and grabbed him from behind and yanked him backwards.
It ripped him. It ripped him
ripped his
open.
throat out.
It looked like it started like clawing at him and
Ripped his throat out.
That looked like
eating him almost.
And then it ate him.
At that one,
started
It was
were running.
interesting. And then we ran away.
We were kind of running.
We ran as fast as possible.
I think we ran about
So-
600 calories or so.
Yeah, so
I made sure I didn't.
So these things are out there now. Now we found evidence back just outside the nursery, between the nursery and where the stone angels were, and there was an area where it looked like there had been some blood dripping from the trees and some fleshy bits of something on the ground around it, and it was still dripping down from the trees. So we think that
That's the blood that was used.
well, I'm not sure, but the way Smith has it in that diary recording that we were able to decrypt, when they leave the nursery, he can then, the magic pulls the animus out of the shade and puts that shade into the body of whatever it is. I don't know if they spontaneously appear. I don't know if it's a process. I don't know. But it makes sense that we might find something like that just outside the nursery. Yeah, and then what happened here? Because I've heard little bits and pieces. Yeah.
Well, what happened was we all got back and kind of just relaxed. It was okay. Now we can start relaxing. We got free time going on. Chill for a bit, and then you started hearing the shriek from behind the room tent and behind the dining hall, like back where the nursery was.
Way back.
Well, it was like I was over there.
I didn't even hear it.
Yeah, it sounded like it
Well,
came from the nursery.
you could see it, and then it shrieked right when I first saw it. It shrieked.
And then that's when we were like, okay, these things are close. And like the counselors told everybody to get indoors, and we all just basically ran inside. Mr. D.
You guys were all here. Yeah, and you guys were all here for it.
It's cool. You guys can tell me later, but
And then Mr. D was just sitting on that wall doing nothing the whole time.
Some of you may remember the year. It was the foundation of the league or somebody came in and ransacked the dining hall. And
Yeah,
Mr.
last
D,
year.
Mr. D was in the kitchen making grilled cheese sandwiches the whole time.
Good stuff.
So
Not gonna do your work for you.
yeah. We're just commenting how unique that is.
Yeah, but one thing I wanted to say is that I'm a little concerned that they followed us back to the dining hall.
And like they were
Because
all,
one of those two things that was actually here, that was one of the one that was
That was probably the one
That
that,
was the one that
killed the
attacked-
guy because
Yes.
it had like blood on
It
its
left
hand,
that
and it
bloody
hit the door
handprint on the
and
door.
Made a bloody handprint.
Oh yeah.
it was
Have we
definitely
cleaned that up yet?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Also, going back to the Ringo thing,
Yeah.
he said he couldn't remember what was outside.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Wait, isn't
like,
that-
and so the marks on his arm could have been like how many times he had seen the thing, because everybody here remembers the creepy thing
Yeah.
Bob, so there'd be something else out there.
All right.
Because
these things-
Ringo's mortal.
I mean, these things were.
Well, he did say, Agent Smith in that recording did say that the mortals couldn't see it.
Oh, they could see it, they just wouldn't remember it when it.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. They can see it, but then when they're not in sight, they can't remember it. All right. Now Ringo, unfortunately, and this may prove to be his downfall. Ringo's been injecting himself with stuff from us, so I think if
He has what they want.
if
He
they
can't
keep
hurt.
that up, they're not going to ignore Ringo for much longer.
Well, they killed the mortal. Just normal mortal.
Yeah.
That was weird.
I think it was probably
Yeah, that is
the
weird.
You guys, and that body got in the way.
Yeah, it's possible
Yeah, that's
that
true.
it really can't see and it only sees shapes and it
I'll be very happy for that high.
the location more than
Well, it does respond to sound, for sure.
There's
And
a
we
lot
were
of
not
sound there.
quiet when we left.
talking a lot.
He was the loudest one.
And we were making a lot of noise with the sword fighting and everything here, but I mean, that could be it.
All right, give these folks a round of applause.